And we are.
Hey, we're live.
Yo.
All right. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Digital Summer Showcase 2020 Facebook live stream lecture interview session. Yeah. Right now we are talking to the lecturers of GPS2. GPS2 is the second project semester in UOWM KDU's game development program. So right after finishing your first project semester, where you learn how to use Unity and how to make a game together for the first time, you all get together and do the same thing all over again, but for 3D and mobile. So with a different perspective on things comes different challenges. And yeah, pretty much. To everybody who's watching, please do try out our GPS2 games. They are available for download on itch.io. That's uowmgames.itch.io. And all these games are made for Android. So please get your devices ready and check them out. So I would like to introduce each of the lecturers. Please state your name, the subjects you teach, and what you did before starting lecturing at UOW and KDU. We'll start with Mr. Lee Chen.
Okay. Hi everyone. Mr. Lee Chen. Um, the subject I teach in KDU is mainly is a 3D subject. If anyone who take the 3D modeling ones and some of the advanced 3D, okay, I will be handling all those subject. Many skill set is talk about teaching about how to use 3D software and how to use the Unreal engines. Okay. Before I teaching in KDU, I'm working in one small academy. It's called Art Academy, which is in Puchong. I'm not sure is it closed down already. Okay. but before that, I'm doing. I'm a 3D artist in Streamline Studio. Mainly is working on as a past surface modeler. Mm.
So, you teach the students how to use different 3D modeling software.
How
Specifically,
to
which software do you teach?
3ds Max.
Okay, all right, cool. And next, Mr. Jeremy.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jeremy, and I teach game design. I teach game design mostly, but the subjects I teach in KDU is game support, review and documentation, and also GPS 2. Yeah. Before I start teaching at KDU, I was a game designer I was a game producer at first for E1 Studio, the same company that Johan worked at before. I did a lot of freelance stuff. I worked at App Asia. I worked for a different app companies here and there. And right now, I'm currently working in a studio that I co-founded called Kaigan Games. We make narrative games for mobile phones. And I'm still working there, so I'm actually a part-time lecturer. So I teach 1 day a week in KDU, and then I go back to work in the rest of the week.
So, to
Yep.
any of our listeners, watchers who
Yep.
are not familiar with the Kaigan Games name, what
Yeah.
games do you produce under Kaigan Games?
We're best known for the Simulacra series, which is basically like a found phone style horror game where the idea is that you play the game from the perspective of a mobile phone. So that means you chat with people using a chat app. You interact. You browse like fictional social media and things like that. And it's more horror, so it's more like something's going on with the phone, and you can even say like, oh, the phone is haunted, and something's going on, and usually you're trying to solve like a mystery going forward. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Right. So,
Thanks.
Mr. Boone, I know that you already introduced yourself, but new batch of viewers,
Yeah.
please introduce yourself.
Right. So once again, my name is Chen and Boon Lim. I'm the programming lecturer. I teach the project classes GPS1, GPS2, and also handle game programming, uh, which focuses on 2D game development using Unity as an introductory course to the game engine, and also mobile game programming, which is still Unity, but teaching them to develop and work with 3D models and so on for the mobile platform. Ooh, my layout's all over the place.
Okay,
Yeah.
so while our layout's getting fixed, I'll get right into the questions. GPS2 is like, I guess it's like the students, it's the students' second project semester and everything. And there are some restrictions that are placed on the students when making the game. And the restrictions themselves, they're not really like as harsh as in GPS1. They're more like, they're a bit more loose and everything. So the students will then pitch their ideas based on whatever is given. And then you guys get to pick exactly like which pitch to go with. How do you choose the pitch that the students work with for the remainder of the semester? We'll start with Mr. Lee Chen.
Beginning of the semester will be based on the student will prepare all those idea for us three of us to choose. Okay. Every time after they done the pitching, we will based on the idea is it workable or not. So we will do the discussion on it. But for my personally, I will really look at your idea. Is it really do a well preparation for it or not? Because you already in GPS2 as a student, a learner. When you're doing a pitching, you need to be professionals. What I mean professional means first you need how well the preparation you are, how are you going to convince your idea, your personal idea into your lecture to let them to choose it. Okay, it's almost same as in real life project, because you cannot expect the company will only got example like the company will really choosing you. You really need to showing how well the preparation of you are, and to show to how to say to showing the a good idea to the company to let them to choose you. That so for me the more important is how well the preparation are the student are there during the GPS to pitching.
I just want to expand on that for a second. What are signs that show that the students are well prepared when they pitch?
First is that, sorry again, I can't really hear.
It's like when the students pitching, what do you see in them or their work that shows that they are really prepared?
Okay, good. Okay, first, if really in terms of arts, they really for me they were going to research like what kind of final result they're really aiming for. Okay, example, is it got any similar game in the markets, and what is the what is in their mind in the end of the the GPS2 in the end, what kind of result they want to achieve. They really need to show this vision to us. For me to me the aspect. So at least I know is it workable or not. And before you get into the production side, and also the prepare doing the pre-pro stage, and you suppose they already prepare example like how many levels you want to make throughout the project, and what is how long the time you are going to spend on it, and what kind of technique part line you are going to use it during this GPS2. That one is what I expect it on. So it will more convince. It will really convince me to choosing your idea during the pitching stage, instead of like you simply throw out three ideas and letting us the lecturer to choose which one is good. I don't think this mindset is good for the student, because it's everything you are just throwing the table and let the lecturer to choose on it. The student is really like, for me, the student really keep in mind is, if you really come up with an idea, you love the idea, you like the idea, then you should put in more efforts and more efforts and more preparation on it, to showing us like, oh, this is really I want to do. Like the previous SEMs, I think it's more for the lecture. When we listen the pitching of the slime, the project, Lim and Jeremy. Is this what's the name called? Slime
Slime Pew Pew.
On the current SEM
Slime
games,
Pew Pew. Yeah, that is very good, because during the pitching the stage is very interesting, because one of the And one point is when she's pitching, he got mentioned one thing is she's really like the games, so she hopes they can make the games and bring out the funds for the player. So this kind of pitching, this kind of preparation, everything is very impressive. Even until now, I still remember that moment, the impression that she gives to us. That one really did a good job.
So to the team that worked on Slime Pew Pew, if you're listening, you
Yeah.
just got praised on the internet, recorded. Keep that in mind. So, Mr. Jeremy, then same question to you. What makes you choose a student's pitch?
I feel like I agree with Mr. Lee Chen on the vision. Like, I think if you have a strong vision and your heart and soul into presenting that vision forward, that would add a lot of points to it, like, because you know that, because I can see that you want this, I can see that this is what you want to push through, and I think also sometimes a lot of one of the common mistake for pitches is that people think pitches are just ideas, like, oh, this is an idea. But I think there's a step that you have to take in terms of making that idea become a reality. So normally when you pitch an idea, it's like how much do you see yourself taking this idea forward? And the further we can see that, the more likely that pitch is going to work, or the more likely that we feel that that team is going to make it work, because like they have the foresight to sort of do early preparation, to do early stages of, okay, will this work, how will this look like, and things like that. So it's not just throwing out ideas, oh, what if this works or not. I mean, that's one thing, but it's like, okay, what if this works, and then let me just do a quick sketch. What if this works, let me just do a quick very dirty prototype and see how it works, that kind of thing. So it's more like how far do you see your vision, and how much work do you put into your own vision. That's for the overall team lah. But for game design in particular, I feel it's like because we sometimes we set parameters, and sometimes we set conditions for what kind of games that you can pitch. So for me, it's like how creative you can use the themes or the restrictions that were given to you, because it is one thing that you can do whatever you want. The other thing is that, what if you are given set of restrictions, and the better that you work around your restrictions, the more I feel that you are capable of solving problems. And I feel like that sometimes will spur ideas that nobody has ever thought of, because I'm like, okay, put those things together, what can you come up with? And from a game design perspective, I feel like the more the more you can creatively work around a limitation, that for me is a big plus. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And finally, Mr. Boon, like, what makes you choose a pitch?
Like everyone says, preparation. But also a few things that kind of stand out on whether an idea will turn out well is how much research they go into it. Whether it is game references that share the same mechanics, or mechanics and how they visually want to be recreated on a mobile platform. Usually those kind of, for me, give extra points on, like, oh, we can consider this more. I think generally that's it.
So it's basically like having a clear vision,
Yeah.
and having done your research on how to achieve that vision. That's like the baseline for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so then as like the semester progresses, I'm pretty sure that you've seen some like reoccurring patterns that happen every sem with the students. Like every batch is different, and all the students are different. But then there are just some teams that you will almost always see, like maybe the art is like really slow, and then suddenly, like after vertical slice, all the assets are dumped in, like boom. Or then like maybe you see that there are some teams that are struggling with design up until like week 4, and then only like week 5 they settled, and then only the production like really begins. So Mr. Lee Chen, have you seen any like patterns that happen with the artists in GPS2?
Yeah, every time also got this kind of problem, which is I know every artist their standard is different. Some of them is very very good. Some of them is they still need some time to improving, which is fine. Okay, for me, because it's just like GPS2 and also GPS2 you are required to use 3D software to create the assets for your games, and as a GPS2 student you only learn 2 sem of the 3D software to create the things. So for me it still needs sometimes to do the improvement. It's okay to be slow, okay, but the problem for the GPS2, a lot of students they're having a problem is that as artists they're not really doing well the preparation on the beginning. What I mean preparation is, as I mentioned just now, is during the pre-pro, you have no idea on what is the way, or what is the solution to achieve your targets. So that's why a lot of students they're having the problem doing the middle stage. So example, like how to create the animations. Are you going to use IK or Bones to going to do the animations? How what is the techniques are you going to create your low poly? Are you going to use picking technique to create the texture, or are you going to use the shadings of the Unity to create the final the stylized style in Unity, or what? A lot of GPS students that did not having this kind of mindsets on it, so that's why they're facing a lot of difficulty in between. So, and one more thing is the progress is a bit slow. Okay, I have to say every project that sure have got problem in between in between. You're sure facing a lot of problem and difficulties. The for me the only ways to pass through it is you face the problem earlier, you solve it earlier. So because of you solve it earlier, so then in order for you to can proceed is more smooth in the future. So you are not really need like wasting your time, keep struggle on that, and in the end, because you are keep dragging, and because your progress is slow, so in the end, if you're facing any problem you can't really solve it, then your GPS2 project is going, the final result will be very good. I would say that.
Issue is like the middle part of the development. Sorry, folks. Okay. So, Mr. Jeremy, do you see any like reoccurring patterns with like the designers?
Reoccurring patterns. I think for me, it's like the most common. I would say the most common habits that I see is like designers tend to see adding more mechanics as a sign of making the game more fun. So sometimes they see like, oh, I don't think our game is fun enough. Let's add more things, or let's add more elements to it. I feel like for game design in particular, sometimes the simplest mechanics can have a lot of depth. I think that the idea is that they have to see that sometimes whatever mechanics that they have, instead of adding more layers, or adding more stuff to do, try to see how much depth you can create. So sometimes that will lead to a lot of unnecessary items or unnecessary assets being created just for the sake of quote unquote making the game more fun. So sometimes that would add a lot more time to the project, but ultimately will not achieve the result that they want, which is to make the game more fun. So sometimes there are some students I just tell them to like go back to your fundamentals, go back to your to your to your year one, and ask yourself what exactly it is your game about, what exactly it is that you think is going to make your game fun, and look at the problem from that perspective, and try not to add anything first. Try to use whatever that you have and see how much depth can you create. Sometimes it's a very simple thing, like your objective is not very clear, or sometimes it's like I don't think you got the. I think the way you approach this does not match the genre that you're trying to meet up. You know, you're misunderstanding the genre, or sometimes it's like I feel like or I think the game will only be cool if you reach the final level, you know, that kind of thing. So it's more like let's try to cut all of that and just ask yourself, what is it that's going to make the game fun with just the stuff that you have? Because sometimes when we approach the pitch, we either will say that, okay, this is good, move forward, and we literally mean that. Literally everything you have is in your hands, and just work around it. Sometimes we say that, the pitch a bit lacking, so I recommend add this element. So when I say add this element, that's all you need. Literally, that's all you need. You don't have to add anything else. So I mean, when we approve a pitch, there's a lot of weight to it, like, because we say you already have everything, move forward. You're missing something, just add this one thing. That's it. So, but people love to add stuff. People love to add more levels, love to add more characters, love to add more things. And I feel that to be a good game designer, that's your clutch is not adding things. Your clutch is just say, I have these things. How much can I stretch with whatever I have, and also maintain the same amount of fun, or rather extend the amount of fun that we're gonna have with just these few elements. So yeah, just learn to work with what you have. Whatever that we give you, you have it already. It's more like, it's like the answer is in your hands. You're just gonna find it, and that's it. Yeah.
I'm going to touch on something that you mentioned. When you say that your game should have more, not to have more mechanics, but to have more depth.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean specifically by depth?
What do I mean? That means like okay, in a very layman term, it's like one tool but multiple purpose, you know. So it's like how do I say, let's say for example you're making a platform. Okay, I think this game I bring out a lot. There's this game called Downwell, which is basically like a platforming shooter that is instead of going from left to right, you're going from top to bottom. You're basically dropping down. So one thing that really impresses me with that game is that their jump mechanic and their shooting mechanic is basically one and the same. So you're jumping and shooting at the same time. So literally, like, your game is about jumping and shooting, but really it's just about jumping. And as you jump and you jump again, you will shoot down. So they sort of combine they sort of use the natural flow of falling down as moving forward. So hence you don't really need to think about like I need to move from left to right and figure out. You're basically using gravity as movement. So that's depth already there, because movement is already integrated into part of how naturally the game works, which is gravity. Second thing is that the jumping thing, like for example, jumping and shooting at the same time. So when you jump to try to avoid enemies, you're also attacking them at the same time. So when you're jumping and shooting at the same time, it's just one button, and that creates a lot of depth already. Like for example, should I dodge this enemy? Should I jump over this enemy? Should I step on this enemy? And things like that. So the whole game, if you really think about it, there's only one mechanic: jump. You jump and you shoot. But even at that fundamental level, it's like there is 10 different things going on just by having these two functions there. So that's what I mean by depth. Your one tool can do multiple things, and these multiple things have different options. So if I have to sum it up, okay, I don't know if that's understandable now. I reflect what I just said. So if I have to sum it up, it's like options. Having one tool but multiple options. That's what I mean by depth. So that means if I have a tool, if I have a weapon, this one weapon can have multiple options. Not by multiple functions. That's a different thing altogether. Just multiple options. That's it. So yeah.
Not everybody thinks about, because you're right about the let's add more stuff to make it cool.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a pretty common mistake that I also did during GPS too. So I remember now. Okay, so Mr. Boon, do you have any like ideas on reoccurring patterns that happen during GPS2?
Yes.
Earlier on, when I asked you the same question about GPS1, you mentioned that students going into GPS2, they kind of make the same mistakes.
Yes.
But aside from that, are there any like, I guess, new challenges that are posed to the programmers during GPS2 usually?
Definitely, and that's one of the first reoccurring thing that would happen is that they leave optimization and testing all the way to the end. So unlike in GPS one where they were working on PCs and developing the game for PCs, they test their game straight on their computers and know that it works without having to do the whole process of building it as an actual application and then testing on other devices. In mobile, at least in GPS2, you can't test on PC because your PC performance varies so much more compared to the mobile device you're targeting. So usually we see this a lot where we consistently remind them from I think the first or second week into GPS2 to test on the devices, build your game and just test on the device, even though there's nothing in the game. Or if there is just one simple mechanic, test it on the device. They forget, or they might think that it is not as important until like proof of concept when it's the first milestone for them where everyone plays each other's games, but we play on the mobile devices. So for a lot of the teams that did not heed our advice of testing their games, all the problems pop up from horrible frame rates to controls not working to UI scales being all over the place. It's a big mess generally for proof of concept. And that usually leads to the second one, which is optimization, which is something that we tell them to think about how to make sure that their game is optimized correctly, properly, to not have too many resources and to not waste your resources, your processing power especially. And yeah, it's like much more important now in the mobile environment. And they tend to forget. Like I said, they sometimes forget what we say in GPS1, maybe because it has less importance then, but they forget and then they try it out and realize, oh wow, I put in too many 3D models in this one scene and it's just not running at all. Yeah, generally those two reoccurring every semester about POC, their first milestone.
Because like the devices that everybody will test on are the ones that are given by the school, so you're
Yeah.
like you can't just be like, it runs fine on my phone but it doesn't run on the
Exactly.
tablet at all.
Yeah, and we do have the devices open to be like loaned so that they can test it throughout the day. But people just don't want to come to me. Oh well.
Maybe they're scared,
Oh no.
you know.
True,
Maybe
I
true,
try
that
to
could-
remind people every week also.
Yeah.
But, you know,
It's alright.
they've mentally tuned out. They're
Yeah.
like, he critiqued me, that's all I heard. Because like especially about the problems that come after POC. I remember during my batch GPS2, there was the one game that used the motion controls of the phone,
Yeah.
Boost Brawl, which is available on the UOWM the uowgames.itch.io page, uowmgames.itch.io. Please play my batch; it's great. But anyway, I remember that they had designed it so that the game's motion would be done with I believe the accelerometer. But then it turns out that like the devices that were provided by the school didn't even have that, so they had to switch it to like a gyroscope or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That was a thing that happened. So like testing is important. Cannot
Mhm.
emphasize enough. Okay, so moving forward from that, this particular batch of GPS2 students have really made some amazing games. There is Chonky, there
Yes.
is Slime Pew Pew, and there's Mecha Martial Arts. So two of the games are definitely more on the cutesy side, and Mecha Martial Arts just reminds me of Tekken 3, which is really great because like Tekken 3 was good. So was there anything about the development of these games that really stood out to you? Like Mr. Lee Chen, you mentioned that you could really feel the passion from the pitch of Slime Pew Pew back there. And then like, what was development like for the art side there?
You mean the Slime Pew Pew only?
Yeah, for Slime Pew Pew specifically. I mean, if you have any stories about the other two teams as well.
Okay. For the team, the Slime Pew Pew, doing a development as art development stage, for me, they are doing a really good job. Is they keep experimenting, like what is the best way to showing the artwork. Example, the slime. Okay, just talk about the slime. If everyone know the slime is obtain the opacity, the opacity. Okay, so but is it the opacity? But if you're using too much opacity in the phone, the engines, it will become very laggy. So there's a very they are doing a very good job. Is they keep trying, like what is the way to achieve a very good quality, at the same time how to reduce the how to maintain the frame FPX, okay, to make sure the game is smooth, and at the same time the final quality is look good. Okay, it's a very, and one more thing is for that they are doing very good is during the production stage they are keep asking question. They are keep asking how to, like, oh, Mr. Yap, I'm for now this is the way I'm using to create the slime, to create the environments. Okay, but is it got any way is better, a more better way to create it, or is it good enough? Okay, for me, through the GPS project, it work as team. For the art student, the most important is if you have any things you are not sure, anything you want to ask, you can always come and ask our lecturer to seeking for the to ask for the solutions. Okay, because a lot of people during the through the previous sems, a lot of this problem is they didn't they are when they are facing a problem, they're not really come and ask the questions, and in the end the problem is getting worse and worse. So the final outcome is not good. Yeah. So for me this time GPS2 they do a very good job. First is a pre-pro. Okay. The pre-pro stage they do a lot of research, and they are clear on what is the final outcome they want to be. Okay. And another one is for me is very they are doing very good job is through they are really doing well in between the 3D modeling stage and the engine import, and they know what is the final result they want to be. So they use a lot of the shading in the Unity and set up a lot of work. And when they import in when they are preparing the assets, they know what is the limitation of the polygons and what is the style, what kind of style of the texture it have to be. So they are set up a lot of times when after the import is still having a very good, nice quality. So that's why for me, I personally, I think this time GPS2 they are doing a quite good job.
GPS2 students, you got praised. Aside from that, what did you think about the journey for the art for the other two teams? So Chonky and Mecha Martial Arts.
Okay, for the Chunky, do you know Chunky is a solo artist?
Oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a solo artist. Okay, it's one artist called Linus. Okay, okay. At first, he do a very good job on the pre-pro. Okay, means that he already clear on what he want to do, and what kind of art style he want to achieve. So that's why at the first, during a beginning stage, I suggest him like, okay, now you not really need to think so far. You just need to think on how to create a workflow. What is the workflow in order for you from the beginning modeling stage, and in the end after you import into the engines, if still having a very good final results. After you create a workflow and after you test it out, is when it's working, you just duplicate it. So after you through this way, the overall workflow will be very fast, and even you are solo, it's still able to finish it. And I'm and of course, one more thing is this artist is very hardworking, and in the end, the final outcome, I think you guys, after look at the game, you guys will like it, and it's quite impressive. The overall final outcome is very, very good for me. And the last one, the mecha, the fighting.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem for the team is I think is they're having the problem as usual. Where I mentioned just now is when they're facing a problem, they didn't really come and ask for the solutions. So that's why during the productions, it's a bit slow down. Okay. So and in the last few weeks, and the artists they already found, oh, okay, this way is really can't do in this way, so they have to seek for help or what. So I think which is good as long you know what is the problem, what kind of problem is there, and then you ask for solutions. At least as long you ask for solutions, we are able to help you, and you are able to finish the whole game by the end of the stem. Okay, so I think more throughout the whole semester, these three teams, I can see the semester is getting improved lah. I mean they're not only, I know the production stage is very important, but for this semester, other than the production, they are doing one very good thing is I hope the next GBS two students also can take note on it, which is please make sure your pre-production stage have to be well prepared. That one will really help you a lot and save up you a lot of times on making mistake. Yeah, that's what I suggest for the art students for the GBS.
Great advice. Yeah. Do all your planning as much as possible, right?
Yes, it is very, very important.
Okay, so then, Mr. Jeremy, do you have any stories from the design side? Like the thing is that you have two games that are definitely a bit more on the cutesy side, and then you have one that's a little different, you know?
Yeah.
But you can sense like there's a very good drive behind all of the games, even just by looking at their gameplay. So, any stories about the design side?
For design in particular, I think the most evolved one is I think Chonky, because I think Chonky is very interesting because it started out as like a pitch for like a Katamari style game. So it's like Katamari style, you roll up, you collect stuff, and you get points, you grow bigger and bigger, and then you move on. But as the game went on, it suddenly slowly evolved into some sort of exploration thing. So the pitch was very different. The pitch was it's just Katamari randomly roll things up and things like that. But as the game goes on, more things were they start to realize that we are trying to match this Katamari style with this sort of like exploration adventure and things like that, which is fine. But as the game goes on, it's slowly the elements of the Katamari style are stripped away in favor for more exploration mechanics. So the Katamari aspect becomes something like just more of a very simple expression of it, but the game is essentially an exploration game. So that evolution was interesting to me, because it's like they realized that something about this game is not right. What do we need? Something about this game is can't put my finger on it, but it's not really fun. So I brought up that maybe you should reframe into thinking that this is more of an exploration game. Start bringing the idea of navigation. Try to make, because Katamari you have no navigation. It's just rolling around randomly. But because the level is big, so I said maybe you need a minimap. Maybe you need to segregate areas into names. Maybe you need to divide sections to have specific gameplay mechanics that you need to move on. So the evolution of the game design from the early pitch became something very different. But at the same time, it's not a bad thing. I mean, this is typical game development process. Your game will evolve into something. Ultimately, is what makes it better. It's not like, oh, we should die stick to the original pitch because that's what we pitch. but having the guts to say, I think the idea is not working. Let's evolve this into something that actually works. So that was interesting for me lah. Like I think what they experience is very common. It's just surprising to see it happening here in a controlled environment, in a student environment where an idea will evolve over time. Not often these things happen, but yeah lah, this was one of those moments lah.
It's really interesting, especially how it sounds like the ideas evolved organically.
Yeah,
It wasn't just like suddenly, okay, the other kid's making a fighting game. Chunky now has a gun, you know? So it was pretty organic, which is really cool.
Yeah.
At what point did the pitch kind of shift into the exploration thing?
I think it was the first POC. The first POC was trying to make it Katamari with exploration mechanics. So, but then they realize, I don't even have to point it out. They just say that something about it is not fun. Like something is wrong. Let's rethink it. I just commented that I just gave my basic comments, but then they are the ones that say that they're the ones that decide to let's relook at certain things. As the week goes on, then they were saying like, oh, okay, let's let's add more exploration stuff. Then I just say just lean into it 100%. Just go full exploration. Why not? And then think of the game more like an exploration game rather than and then just take it forward from there lah. So I think the vertical slice, because I mean that's a given, right? You play test a game, then you know whether your idea works or not. So the idea is it's like everything is working fine, but it's not fun. So what's up with that? So let's solve that particular problem. So yeah. So it was during the POC. Yeah.
I think that takes a lot of guts, honestly, to look at your game and say that it's not fun, let's try to fix it, as opposed to being like, the game's not fun, but it's playable, so we're just going to keep at it. Like, that shows a lot of dedication and drive to the Chunky team, which, by the way, can be downloaded to your Android device if you go to uowm.itch.io. It is available for download for free. Please play our student games. And finally, Mr. Boon, what were some of the programmer stories that you had during GPS2?
Okay, so for all three, the Chunky one was interesting because one of the programmers kind of went wild with wanting to implement a lot of things.
Okay.
I remember that one time the programmer suggested we should add cannons to allow Chunky to travel the different areas much easier and faster. And that was surprising because it was like, wait, how big is your level? And then they showed us and I was like, oh wow, it's huge. That with Slime Pew Pew, it was interesting because they were one of the teams that, at least from what I remember, they heavily play tested their UI, which is very rare to see. It's a very good step for people working on mobile, but it's a very rare thing to see that we didn't consistently ask them to do it and they did it on their own. They play tested with family members, with people that has played first-person shooters on mobile before. They compared it with popular first-person shooter mobile games currently. I think Call of Duty was one of their references. And they were just experimenting and playing around with different ways of moving and aiming a character in using your mobile phone. And that was like super interesting to see them do it on their own. And with the mecha martial arts, the RT was interesting because on the programming side, they did a lot of experimentation on the art side to help the art a little bit, to push it a little bit further, because they were trying to figure out how animation works with humanoid rigs, and they were struggling for quite a while. And no matter how they implemented it, it still didn't look great. The animations looked clunky and it wasn't responding well to controls. And at the end of the day, they decided, you know what, we're gonna we're gonna take one of our references and use how they did their animation style. So instead of the tech, because I mean direction was taken, they switched out and went to traditional Street Fighter, the 2D Street Fighter, which is keyframe animations, and it looked so much more better, and it was a lot more responsive as well. So at the end of the day, it helped the game overall through just deciding, hey, let's look at our roots, look at traditional fighting games, what they did, and if it's possible for us to do it, but in 3D. And yeah, I don't particularly remember any negative things or negative stories from this batch. I generally remember a lot more surprising things from this batch.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really good to show that they're really taking the initiative, because from what you all are telling me is that there are certain students, or I guess certain teams in this particular batch, that took the initiative on things that you don't normally push as lecturers. Like, you might mention it towards the end of development, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And also, just another plug, if you want to hear the students' take on how developing their individual games went, you can go to anchor.fm/SCCM showcase. I interviewed each of the students who are participating in this showcase, I mean the different teams, and it's really cool to listen to it from their perspective as well. So before we end this, do each of you have any like final words for the GPSU students about to enter their next semester? We'll start with Mr. Lee Chen.
Okay, for the GPS2 student. Okay. I think in our school, you only got total 3 team project. Okay, teamwork project. First one, GPS1, GPS2, and your final project. Okay, so since you guys are very, so please use the time to prepare yourself for the FYP, to think on what is the game you really want to work on for your, like what kind of game you really want to work on your FYP, and you can start to prepare for it, like any skill you are require, any things you need to improve yourself, improve it on it, especially during this MCO time. I know you guys are very free. Okay. So okay, and also one more thing is that I think is I want to use this chance to share with all the artists of this mindset. Okay. Yes. In our industry, technical skill is important. To create a good hour, to come out with create a good hour is our job. Yeah, it is. But another one more thing is is a discipline of the artist, and also your professionalism, and what about your professional and your personality. It's very important, because in the future you still got a long way to go. First, after you graduate from here, you still got a long time to work as an artist, maybe 20 years, 30 years. Okay, so as artists, you really need to keep your skills sharp, and make sure you maintain your patience on it. Don't too easy to burn out, and like don't too easy to give up on this industry. I know a lot of students there. When you guys is facing some difficulty, like example, when you're learning a software, you feel like, oh, it's very hard. I cannot. I feel like I can't really learn it, and I want to give up on it. When sometimes when you're having this kind of mindset, you just keep in your mind what is the reason you come into this course and why you choose this course. And I think it's a very important thing to keep your as artists, to make sure keep your patience in this industry. That one is more important. And it's talk about the technical skill. Everything's for me, when you can learn it later. Of course, you will learn. You watch more tutorial or what. You still can. It will become better and better. But talk about the patient things, your personal discipline, also your personal disciplines. Everything's, that one is more important for me. That one is important, because in the future when you go into a company, okay, you are not only a single artist. You are working with a team. okay, to be responsible to the teams, having a discipline to knowing every stage of the deadline you need to meet. That one is more important. I think that's all for me.
Really good. And passion is so important. It's like skill can be learned at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But discipline is so important. Discipline and passion,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discipline and passion is important.
Yeah, I agree. So
Because
next.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, it just like some of your senior, maybe in the future you are not really working in this game industry. Maybe you join other art industry, maybe interior architect, app developers or what's. With a good personal disciplines and a good personalities, wherever you go, you will be successful. Yeah, that one is very important.
So,
That's all.
Mr. Jeremy, do you have any parting words to the GPS2 batch?
So I agree with what Mr. Lichin said. Having that aspiration, having that drive to continue forward. I think if you have that now, you have to bring it forward, and if you don't have that now, you gotta find it somewhere deep in your heart. Because because I think as you move on, things are only gonna get harder. Not in the sense where that skill that you need to achieve, like every time that you move forward, you need to improve your skill little by little, and just by doing that, things are gonna feel a lot harder. So having that discipline, having that drive is gonna keep you forward. I think also you also gotta remember that it's okay to admit that you cannot do something or you don't know how to do something, and you have to ask your peers or ask your lecturers, because I think really the easiest mistake that you can do right now is just not ask any question. I think if you want to find something that you can improve, you ask yourself, okay, if I'm stuck, the first thing I need to do is I need to exhaust all my options before I give up. And then after I exhaust all my options and I still cannot figure out this problem, what can I do? Just ask the lecturers, because in this environment, in this studying environment, there it's it's not every day that you get unlimited advice for free, that kind of thing. Like literally there's no limit to what you can ask. Sometimes we might kutuk you for asking like silly questions, so but in the end of the day we'll still answer lah. So I would say don't be afraid to admit I don't know how to do something, and I need help with something. So don't get stuck in your own corner and just spiral out of control. Have the guts to say, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, let me ask someone else. Ask your peers. If you don't ask your lecturers, ask your peers, ask your seniors, and then only ask your lecturers at the end. If you don't like a particular lecturer, you go ask another lecturer, that's also fine. Don't limit yourself to just that. So use the resource that you have. You have a lot of resource actually. You have the we lecturers only want to see you succeed. That's our main goal. Like we only want to see you improve. Like that's the main thing. We do not want you to see you stumbling upon yourself. But also at the same time, we want to see you grow. So sometimes you might want to be patient in a way that we probably won't give you the answer outright. We'll just point you to the right direction, and have the and we are not. And we're not to say go figure it out yourself. It's more like, okay, have you considered ABC? Now I want you to really think about what you have right now, because I'm giving you a guide here. But at the end of the day, you still need to use your own ability to get there at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, this is only temporary. Like whatever that we can offer you is only temporary. When you go out into the wild, when you go out to work, you might not be so lucky. Your mentors might not be so accommodating. Your peers might not be so friendly and things like that. So sometimes you gotta use whatever you have, and you have a lot right now. So just use it as much as you can. Yeah, as you move forward.
And finally, Mr. Boon, any parting words for the GPS2 batch?
you're doing all right. You're like this batch is doing really well. But I can also see that it's starting to take a toll on them. Just try to pace yourself. This MCO, it's hard. It's both good and bad. It's time. It's a little break for you to rest, but at the same time, it's unnerving because we have no idea what's going to happen next. Try to see it as a short period of rest time before you continue on your next semester and the semester after that, and then eventually getting a job and then starting a career, being a big game developer. See this as a period of rest for yourself. And yeah, like what my peers have said, have that passion, have that drive. Remember why you're doing this, and you'll be fine.
I think those are some really great final words from all of the lecturers. And you can play all of the games that were talked about today on uowm.itch.io. There were 3 games from this semester's GPS2 batch, all for mobile, all for Android, and you should really go check them out. So I think that about wraps it up on this particular batch of interviews. So thank you all, everybody, for coming.
All right, thank you, Sophie, for interviewing.
Thank you.
No problem. It was great. I got some great insight, So please enjoy the playtest. And to everybody else, please come to our Discord and check out the games and talk to the developers themselves. Ask them questions. Give them a job. That kind of thing. All right.
All right. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.